Hi, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster, and in this video I am going to talk about array data structure. So let's get started. So from this video we are going to start our journey of linear data structure, and array data structure is one of the basic linear data structure among all the linear data structures like queues, linked list, stacks. So before we understand array data structure, let's first understand what is meant by linear data structure. So linear data structure is a data structure in which elements are stored in a linear sequence. For example, arrays are linear data structure. Here, elements are stored in a linear sequence. And queues are also linear data structure. In queues also we store elements in linear sequence. In stack, we store elements on top of each other. So as you can see that in all the data structures, we are storing elements in a linear sequence. So all those type of data structures are called linear data structures. Clear? Okay. Moving on to array data structure. So array data structure is also a linear data structure that allow us to store same type of data at contiguous memory location. So first thing, array only stores same type of data, and second thing, it stores all the elements in contiguous memory location. But this is not the case in all other linear data structures. Only array provides these features. So the real world example of array is seats in a flight. If you see seats in a flight, you can see that all the seats are arranged in a linear sequence, and on those seats only passengers are allowed to sit. Okay, so here you can relate that we are only storing same type of data, that are passengers here, and all the seats are arranged in linear sequence. Okay, so the question is, why we need arrays? Can't we use multiple variables? So let's say you are developing a software, payroll software for a company, and you have declared 5 variables to store the data of 5 employees. But let's say tomorrow 5 more employees joined company. So what happens? You have to again declare 5 more variables to store information about that employee. So don't you think it becomes very difficult to manage all the variables, and we do not have track of all the variables, that which variable is storing information of which employee? So to overcome this problem, we use arrays. So using arrays, we can store multiple values in a single variable. It means you can store information of all the employees in a single variable, and you can even access all those information quickly. And we need arrays for sorting and searching as well, because when you store data, you obviously need to sort that data, or in future you want to search something on that data. So we need arrays to sort data and searching specific information in the data. So how we represent array in Java? So this is the syntax we use to represent arrays in Java. Here int is simply defining the type of elements we are going to store in this array, and this is the name assigned to this array, and the 5 in the square bracket tells about the size of the array, and here these are the elements between the curly braces. Okay, so we have type, name, size and elements. So this is how we represent array in Java. But how machine represents arrays in memory? So as we know that elements in array are stored in contiguous memory location. It means, let's say we have a memory and we want to store 5 elements in this memory. So the first element gets stored at a location x, and then second element is going to store at location x plus y, and third on x plus 2y, so on and so forth. Now here, what is x and y? So x is equal to base address. It means it is the address of first element of an array, and y is the size of element. In case of integers are usually represented in 32-bit format. So here the value of y is 32. I will talk about x and y in a bit. Now the question is, okay, we have created an array, but how to access elements in array? So generally array elements can be accessed using indexes, and in most of the programming languages, arrays are based on 0 index. So it means the first element is accessed by index 0, second by index 1, third by index 2, so on and so forth. So let's say for example, when you created this array, you get the base address as 100. So the first element of this array is stored at the memory location 100. and you are storing the elements, and the size of elements is 10. Okay, so how you are going to access third element? So you have to simply write array square bracket 2. Why 2? Because arrays are based on 0 index. So to access third element, we have to pass 2 here because 0 is the first index. So internally what it does, it simply perform this calculation that 100 is the base address. It means the base address of the first element plus 2 into 10. 10 is the size of our element and 2 is the offset. So we get 100 plus 20 is equal to 120. So you are going to access third element at 120 memory address. So this is how we can access elements in array, and this is how we use base address of the memory and the size of the elements to randomly access any elements in an array. So there are few basic terminologies you are aware when we talk about array. First is the array index. It means all the elements are accessed via index. Okay, and base address means when you create an array, the programming language returns base address of an array. It means the address of the first element. And next is the size of element. So we are also aware that we are storing elements and we know the size of those elements. And last is the array length. So the length of this array is 5. So these are just a basic terminology you are aware if you are dealing with array. Now there are multiple types of array. So here I have broadly classified array based on whether the array is resizable or not. So here you can see there are two types of array based on the resizable ability. One is fixed size array and second one is dynamic size array. So what happens when the array is fixed size? So here we have created array of size 5. Okay. So after we initialized array with 5 elements, we cannot increase or decrease the size of array. So it remains the same for the entire lifetime of the program. So if you want to initialize array dynamically using the input taken by the user, you can pass n here. So if user passes 5, it creates array of 5 elements. If user passes 10, it creates array of 10 elements. But still you cannot increase or decrease the number of elements in an array. And this syntax is directly initializing 5 elements in an array. Now if you want to add new element into this array that is at the position 6th, it simply throws error because it is a fixed size array and it is not allowed here. So the second category of array is dynamic size array, and Java implements dynamic size array in array list. So what happens? Let's say you have created an array of 5 elements and you have filled this array with 5 elements. Now your array is full. Okay, and now you want to insert next element at position 5th. Now what happens? This dynamic size array creates new array with size more than the previous array, and it copies all the elements from the previous array to new array, and then it simply insert the new element at the last. So this is how dynamic size array works. So whenever array gets full and you want to insert new element, it simply creates new element, copy all the elements and insert new element at the last. But we do not know by which factor this array is resized. It means whether it is doubling itself after array gets full or it triples itself. It completely depends upon the implementation of the programming language. Okay. Now the question is when to use which. So when to use fixed size array and when to use dynamic size array. So here I can show you few simple reasons to decide which to use when. So let's say you have a very small amount of data and you are sure about that it's never going to increase in the future. Let's say you want to store 2 mobile number of user. First is the primary and then secondary. So in this case you can use fixed size array because you are already know beforehand that there will be never going to be more than 2 numbers in the future. Okay, in this type of case you can use fixed size array. But in case you have large amount of data, let's say you have data of employee, you have data of students, you have data of social media friends, then in that case you cannot use fixed size arrays because you are not sure that how much data you are getting in the future or how many employees are going to join this company in the future. Okay. So in these type of cases, you can use dynamic size array. So what happens when array gets full? It's automatically increases the size of array to accommodate the new elements. Okay, great. Now let's talk about some of the applications of array. So first application of arrays, it is used to store and retrieve data in a sequential order. As we know that all the elements are stored in a sequential order. So we use generally arrays to store and retrieve data in a sequential order. And we have data, then we obviously have to sort that data. Let's say you have stored all the information of employees in an array. Then you want to sort that data, that you have to find the employee whose salary is largest. So in those cases, we need sorting feature. So we use array to sort data, and we use different algorithms like bubble sort and quick sort to sort data. If we have data, then obviously we need some search feature also, so that we can search some information in a large amount of data. So in this case also we use arrays a lot, and we use different algorithms like linear search and binary search to search something in data. So matrices is one other application, right? So matrices are two-dimensional data structure, and array is one-dimensional data structure. So to represent matrix, we also use arrays only. Okay. And now, last but not the least, all the complex data structures like stacks, queues are all internally use array data structure for their implementation. Okay. Moving on. So now let's talk about the advantages of array. So there are two major advantages of using array. First is the random access, and second is the cache friendliness. So what is meant by random access? As we know that we can access any element of array using indexes. So this property of array is called random access, because this property is not available in any of the other linear data structure. The reason is simple. In array, all the elements are stored in contiguous memory location. So once we know the address of first element and the size of the element, we simply do some calculation and we can easily get the address of the element we are looking for. And we can perform this operation in big of one time. It means we can access any element of an array in constant time. And the second feature array provides is cache friendliness. So what does it mean by cache friendliness? First of all, cache is a memory, and it is the fastest among all the memories, and it resides close to CPU. So whenever our program runs, all the data from RAM moves to cache and remain there until it gets expired, so that your CPU can access those data very quickly, because it is also much faster than RAM also. So that is why cache is placed very close to CPU. So what happens? Let's say you are accessing an element at index 2. So there are high chances that your CPU stores 1, 3 and 4 and 5 also in cache. So next time when your program access index 4, then it can be easily found out in the cache memory. So your CPU do not need to go to the RAM to access the element. So if we use arrays, as it has a cache friendliness nature, then we can access any index of an array if it present in the cache very quickly. So this is all about advantages, and these are the two major advantages array provides. So now let's talk about the disadvantages. So the first disadvantage of using array is fixed size. As we know that in fixed size we cannot increase or decrease the size of array, but although we can overcome this problem by using dynamic size array. Now second major issue is memory allocation issue. So let's say you have a limited size of memory in your system and you want to allocate a large array. So it might be possible that your system goes out of the RAM and your program crashes. So this is the one disadvantage of using array. The next disadvantage is insertion and deletion issues. So what happens when you want to insert an element in the middle of array or delete an element from the middle of the array? So if you want to insert an element at the middle, then you have to shift all the elements present after that index towards right, and then you can insert the new element. And similarly, if you want to delete an element in the middle, then you have to shift all the element after deleted element towards left, so that you can balance your array. Now next disadvantage is waste of space. So what happens when you create array of size 10 and you are only using 5 elements? So in this case you are simply wasting space for 5 elements, and that space cannot be recovered, right? Because it is already assigned to an array. Now the next disadvantage is limited data type support. So as we know that array only stores single type of data. So it has a limited support for the complex data structure. Like if you want to store object or any other complex data structure, it cannot support. So here we can store data of only one type. The next disadvantage is lack of flexibility. So when we use arrays, we do not have much flexibility. First, the size of the array is fixed, so we cannot increase or decrease the size. And the second is that we cannot store multiple types of data in array. So it kind of become very inflexible to use. So that is why we generally prefer dynamic size array over fixed size array. So our array gets resized when we have more elements, and we can also store multiple types of data in dynamic size array. So I hope now you have a good understanding of array data structure, how we can represent array in Java, how it is represented in memory, what are the applications of array data structure, what are the advantages and disadvantages of array data structure. So this is it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.